Okay, hello everybody. Hi, Joy.
Hi.
Today I have the honor to interview you. And you are born in Malaysia, right? And then
Yeah.
raised in China. And now, then you graduated also summa cum laude from Berkeley College, which is amazing. Congrats on that.
Thank you.
And you also HMMA winning even and any nominated composer for film and TV. Yeah. Welcome to the composer class. I'm so glad to have you. Looking forward to talk to you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm stoked.
Yes, me too. So yeah, just for everyone who doesn't know you, a little bit about yourself, where you come from, like your origin story, how you ended up in Los Angeles.
Yeah, my name is Joy. I'm a film composer now based in LA. I was born in Malaysia and brought up in China. And during in China, I learned English, and I also worked a lot with my school orchestra, and I also got a chance to play piano for the Shanghai Orchestra there. So that my background is in classical piano mainly. But I was always fascinated about film scoring. Like one of my favorite composers are like Joe Hisaishi, Alan Menken. Like I love animation and the music for that. I was always drawn towards that. So I decided to study film scoring in Berklee College of Music in Boston. And ever since then, I moved to LA in 2015, and now I'm here.
Wow, awesome. That's great. Yeah. So you, your Malaysia, China. How did this come that you went to China and then was Berkeley like the first choice, or what was your like idea behind that?
Yeah, so I applied to a bunch of music schools. Most of them are classical conservatories, and Berkeley was the only contemporary school that I applied to. And before I was debating between whether I want to study classical piano and focus on performance or go towards composition. And I knew I always wanted to do that. But in China during that time, film scoring wasn't a very popular subject. Like I never thought that we could learn that, like learn DAWs and learn, the music tech of it. Like that wasn't very publicized there. It wasn't until I auditioned and first of all, the audition process was very friendly, and I felt really at home when I was playing there, as opposed to, I mean, all the other classical conservatories were great too, but I just felt more at home when I was auditioning for Berkeley. Then I went to look at their curriculum, and I realized that they have this thing called film scoring and also video game scoring, which is super cool. And that's how I chose to go there.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, Berkeley is probably one of the most prestigious schools
Yeah.
around film scoring in particular, and there's a lot of names that you know now that come out of
hmm
Berkeley. And what I heard that they also like have lots of lectures from these people that actually went to Berkeley before and now are very successful in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Um, which like are there certain lectures that you like really enjoyed most that gave you some kind of aha moment for you to go even deeper, or like that had just motivated you a lot?
Yeah, there was a bunch of, like you said, they have a lot of guest speakers that come. And one particular guest speaker that I was so in awe by is Harry Gregson Williams. I remember he came and the whole auditorium was packed. And, I was a big fan of his scores growing up and all his, classic scores like Shrek and Narnia. Like I was always so, like, it's such a dream that we can be in the presence of these
Yeah,
amazing composers who worked in this industry
absolutely.
for a while. And it was just very inspiring to hear that.
Awesome. And so when you came out of school, out of Berkeley, what was your next step? I mean, this is probably the most crucial time in a
Yeah.
film composer's life. You should finish school, and you finished like very well with summa cum laude, which is amazing.
Thank you.
So how was the like process? What was going through your head, and
Mhm.
what was your first action that you took after school?
So I wanted to immediately delve into this industry, and the first step was I wanted to learn from existing film composers who are working already in Hollywood. I never want to stop learning, and I think the best education is to be in these experiences.
Yeah.
So I as soon as actually before I graduated, I already started applying for internships. And I actually started interning for TV composer Jeff Russo for maybe a few months, and then I got hired officially as his assistant. And that was a very valuable year that I got to just, shadow him and his team and see how he works. He has such a great volume of work behind him, and just being in that fast-paced TV, world, it was like completely like cramped 1 year of education that I didn't get to experience, because you won't get to experience till you're there. Attending recording sessions, prepping for recording sessions, talking to music editors and mixers. It's truly so fascinating, and it's stuff that you don't get to learn in school. I feel like we learn the foundation of technology, production, how to score, and all that stuff. But it wasn't until you get here and you see how people work. That's like such a valuable education.
Absolutely. I mean, I was there the first time in 2003 and worked on a TV show, like a 300 episode TV show. Just an intern, right? Just back
wow,
then,
300.
Yes,
My
back then there
goodness.
wasn't. It's incredible, and they had like a very good system figured out to do it. Back then there was no Dropbox and no G Drive and email was just about like the only thing that you could use, but large amounts of data wasn't possible. Like internet was very slow back then. So my job was to run around like
deliver the drives.
Yes,
Ooh,
exactly. Deliver drives from Paramount to Culver City, and then from Culver City go back to North Hollywood, and then
oh gosh.
So I drove around LA like for 3 months straight, like just delivering drives from one person to the other.
Yeah.
But what I really loved there, coming from Germany, what really stuck with me was like the amount of professionalism in terms of everyone knows their place, but still they're open to anything that you bring to them. And then like just the work ethic and the whole like, you can learn from everyone that's involved in a project like I was involved in. So that was really fascinating for me. So yeah, totally agree with you that you only learn when you're actually there.
Yeah.
But so this is, I mean, for me, I didn't go to school for music, but I was always wondering if I missed out on something. So is there something what do you think? So how long are you now like working in Hollywood? For 8 years almost then.
Yeah, 8 years. But first of all, I know, like, I listened to your music. I went on your website, and it's incredible. Like, it's like
Thank you.
I know there's like a debate in whether we should go to music school or not, and I honestly think at this point I really encourage up and coming composers to. If there's no means to go to the music school, there's so much resources out there on YouTube that wasn't like really prevalent when I guess it was starting to rise up, but now you can learn anything on the internet. That I feel that but there are benefits going to music school, because I landed my first internship at Jeff's because there was like we have a really strong alumni group that they post like, job postings, and a lot of the working composers in LA, they look for interns there. So that was kind of my first step. I think the best part of going to music school is the community, is to have a strong, like, oh yeah, you went to Berkeley. Immediately there's like, what you learned, you've been through it and all that. But I don't think it's like a necessary thing, because there's just so much to learn online. And it's a lot of it, like you said, is the experience. It's to like, I only started scoring for my own films, short films. I started from indie films here in LA, working with up and coming directors themselves, because for them too, it's also a learning process for them to start their first film and work with everyone who's also up and coming, and that's how you learn, I think.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this is definitely underlines my thesis that the most precious thing that you can have from music school or any gathering of like-minded people is the community and the networking effect that comes with it. So this is absolutely 100%.
But also being in LA too, or, in New York or other places, like networking is always, I think, a way to advance the career. Not necessarily like, oh, I want to get something from you, but just being in the room with all these creative people and help each other out. And, it's with experience you get better and better. I think that's kind of the start of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely true. Yeah. So I would love for you to explain. So let's say you did a lot of stuff as part of a team with Jeff, for example, or maybe even other composers. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Also, Zach Robinson, who is the composer for Cobra Kai, I really support. He's a fantastic composer, also a really wonderful human being. That we still keep in contact now. He's a huge supporter of my career as well. Which
nice.
I'm really grateful for that kind of mentorship that turns into like friendship.
That's awesome. Yeah. And so after, like, you might work with Jeff still. I'm not sure. It's still
not anymore. It's not anymore. I was his assistant for a year, and then I actually moved on to work for Joel Goodman, who's a documentary composer. Because I just wanted to learn. I feel like I was a sponge that I want to broaden. Like, okay, cool. I want to learn what goes on the documentary side, and I also wanted to do my own thing as well. So I was always just trying to keep myself occupied. I also dabbled in trying to help, other composers doing orchestration or like score prep. So I was in my experimental educational phase when I first moved to LA.
The whole industry, or like being a creative person in general, is like an experiment in itself. So you have to be open to new things, trying new things out and stuff like that. So this brings me to my question. What is your, like, if you look back or when you're here where you're at now, what do you think as a composer is the number one biggest contributor to your success so far? And maybe you can dig a little bit deeper on how this affects you now.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I'm pretty proud that I've kept up with, in addition to assisting other composers and being on the music team, was I never gave up on my own goal. Like, I knew that I wanted to be my own composer as well and work on my projects. So I tried to keep a balance between, I'm helping other people, but I'm also attending like film festivals. I went to a lot of film festivals in the beginning. Even though I didn't have a film yet, I would just go and just support new films and new indie projects. And through those events, I met so many, up and coming filmmakers who who in the end became collaborators. It was a very natural thing because I think because I showed up in those rooms, no matter what happens after, whether you get a project or not, it's just being in those rooms with those creatives, and that's where you make connections, authentic connections. And I guess I'm proud that I didn't give that up at the time, because then I was able to slowly go into like the indie world and how to start working with people on my own. And so I kept those two things going. Like, I'm still working on music teams and working with other people, but I'm also working with myself. And I think the biggest contribution was just this years of showing up to events, no matter if it's like, there's fantastic organizations here in LA. There's the, SCL, or Society of Composer Lyricists. There's Alliance for Women's Composers, who I'm also part of. And now there's also Composer Diversity Collective, which is an amazing organization that I was always part of. And I guess my first film that kind of broke me as a up-and-coming composer is this film called Blush. It's Skydance Animation's first film. And I wouldn't be able to get this film if I didn't show up at a Composer Diversity Collective / Skydance Animation's networking event. Because I showed up there, I met Brian Davidson, who we had a common friend with that works in Disney Animation. And he was like, oh, send me your reel. Like, I want to hear music. I sent it to him. And during the pandemic, I got a call saying that, hey, like, our up-and-coming short film, we want a composer, and I sent your reel along, and the director loved it. Do you want to pitch for it? Do you want to submit some demos? And that was it pretty much. But I always think back that how that wouldn't have happened if I didn't, first of all, the studios being open to hosting these events to meet up and coming composers, but also these organizations who put in the work to bridge those gaps, but also people like us who are showing up. And that's how we make those connections. So I would say that I owe a lot to, the Composer Diversity Collective and also Skydance Animation for giving me this chance to, to work on that. So.
But still, if you hadn't shown up.
Oh yeah.
Right. So
yeah, sometimes I always think that. Isn't it strange? Like if you didn't go or didn't have that conversation, I don't know.
Right.
And I wasn't expecting anything. It was just more of I want to meet people and be there.
Right. Exactly. I mean, it's still, business is done between people. So you have to, if you at some point you might be able to get away with being in your studio only or at home or something. But in the beginning, you have to be there anyway for such a long time if you're working on something like a studio film or short film that you did. So but going out there and being open to new opportunities and new don't be too proud of doing something that you might not have not envisioned for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You never know what leads to the next thing, right?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
That's absolutely true. So
the reel that I submitted for Skydance, those music that I wrote were for my indie films. So yes, the indie films are not studio projects per se, but all of those projects contributed to where I am now as a composer because I learned from it. Every single project I do, I feel like I'm improving. So those experience, all of them count.
Yes, absolutely. And so you give them on this networking event, you connect, then you give them a reel, then they call you back and say, oh, that the director is interested. Do you write demos? How does the demo writing go?
That was a really fun process because so then I started. This was all during Zoom with Zoom because during the pandemic, right?
During Zoom, exactly.
Yeah, so I met the director, I met the music supervisor, and the producer, and they showed me. That time there wasn't any animation; it was just storyboards. Here's a storyboard, and there was 10 music in there. They're like, "Let's watch it." I watched it. I was so blown away about. Just from the storyboards, so moved by the story. They're like, okay, so here's what the film is about. It's a personal story from our director, Joe Mateo. And are you interested in writing just a demo? You can choose any scene from this film and just write what you feel. So I didn't have picture. I just had to remember what the film was about. And those conversations was so crucial because I really understood this is a personal film by our director, Joe. It's about his late wife who passed away from breast cancer. And so the meeting ended. I just started to write a theme based on that story, based on the storyboard. And the funny thing is that theme actually became the film's theme in the end. I used that to pitch. And so it's so crazy. We actually went to write different versions of the theme, but we still went back to this original one. It's just that gut feeling that I had so then I started to do that. So they're like, we like your theme, but this film also has a lot of sadness, to it, and also they're hopeful. Can you write other variations of that theme? So then I wrote other variations of that same arrangement, that same theme in different arrangements, and they're like, great, we want to work with you. So that's how it happened.
That sounds like an easy process. I mean, you had to rewrite some themes, and I feel like the rewrites are, for me, as personally, is like the most difficult part because you somehow you get married to your original idea, and then you have to diverge from these ideas and then go back. But that sounds straightforward, man. That's
really straightforward. And actually, every time they give me notes, they're all. I mean, they worked in the industry for forever, and so it's they're seasonal veterinarians, and the revisions they had me do, I personally think it makes my music better because I'm like, oh, right, totally makes sense. Like one of the notes that they gave me in the beginning was like, can you just extend on the theme a little bit? We want to hear maybe a B section or whatever. And totally makes sense. And as I was doing it, I'm like, right, I totally understand. I really learned so much from that team. And the biggest lesson that I took away from me from that project was scoring with intention. Like everything that you write, every instrument that you use, or every melodic phrase, it has to serve a purpose. Like when I remember there was a time where I wrote like a flute flutter here. It's like, what's that for? And I'm like, actually, no, it didn't serve anything. I just added it. So then I took that away. So every time that lesson was very crucial that I learned from that team was, why am I doing this? Like, if I add this, is it serving anything? Like, is it telling the story? If not, then it's not really necessary. So I really learned a lot from that.
You're back. Cool.
Oh, sorry.
I didn't see you for a minute there, but yeah, it's fine. It's fine. No, I think I got it. So I like that. I mean, first of all, it's amazing that they wanted to work with an up and coming composer, and that they chose you, and then were willing to actually collaborate with you. And I think this is the most powerful thing about film scoring, of working in music for media in general, is if you have a great collaborator and a team that actually understands how collaboration works. And myself also trying to serve the film or the end product, not myself or not any person, but the whole thing, is like, that makes it so much better. If everyone wants the same thing. So kudos. That's amazing. Yeah, really, really cool.
I really give props to everyone at Skydance, like Heather, Joe, John. Like they treated me like an equal. They were like, "What do you think, Joy? Like, what are some of your ideas?" There was so much space for me to just be an artist, be myself, and there's a lot of ideas that they took from me and I took from them. So it was such a collaborative thing, and I couldn't imagine a better first experience working with a major studio like that.
Yeah, that's amazing. And this was also the Annie nomination.
Yeah, that was the Annie nomination. It's crazy that pretty much. I've done a lot of indie films in the past, and but that project certainly started my career. I owe a lot to that special project. And I'm grateful that project. I really am proud of it, and I love the film so much. It's always going to be a special project to me. Yeah. That I'm grateful that it's that project that helped me, I think.
Yes, and you said before that you submitted your documentary or your indie film music as a reel, right? And this basically got you in the room.
Yeah.
To pitch. Awesome.
I think something they mentioned to me that attracted them was prior to that film, I actually collaborated with. So in Disney, there's a series called Short Circuit, and basically that series opens up to everybody who works at Disney, whether you're a director or not, to submit an idea and then become the director. So I actually collaborated with one of the directors there, Jerry Hoon, who worked on created this film called Jing Hua, and it's also a film about grief through the lens of Chinese calligraphy and Chinese martial arts and basically the Chinese culture. And that film is on Disney Plus now. So I did submit one of those pieces there, and I think they were really attracted. I can hear like a pain and a grief in that piece of music. And I was like, oh, that's funny, because that is about that.
That's awesome. Nice.
So, again,
I love that. If you have like music and people actually interpret and hear the things that you actually put into it, that's amazing. I love it.
I mean, I can't imagine. All I can say is just I'm so grateful and super, super grateful for everybody who has given me this opportunity. And I think that's what studios is trying to do. Like, there's a lot of studios now very open to hear up and coming voices. Like, there's a lot of programs out there, like Universal Composer Initiative, where like they want to mentor and they want to hear other up and comers out, whether you're a writer or producer or artist or composer. So I'm very grateful to be in this industry at this moment, and it all gives credit to the composers before us who are trying to pave the way for us.
Right. Right. That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, this kickstarted your career, but of course the other things contributed to every step of the way was preparation for the moment, basically.
Yeah.
But there's always like this moment, I think, in a composer's life or like in a creator's life in general, where we realize that we want to make something bigger in the world or like something bigger than ourselves. And that we like or we figure out we can't work for anybody else anymore. When was this pivotal moment for you that you realized, okay, I mean, you mentioned it a little bit before, but I want to go a little deeper. Where was this moment? What was this moment, or what triggered you to actually say, okay, I have to put more time into my own thing and make something that actually, where I can serve better, let's say it this way.
Yeah, I think the moment was, there wasn't a particular moment, but it was a gradual thing where after Blush came out, a lot of agents started to approach me who I never met before. And that's when I realized maybe I do have something to give, and maybe it's time for me to transition. And during that time, actually, I have to give credit to the composer I used to work for, Zach Robinson. During that time, it was the same time where he asked me, hey, I might be able to bring you full time to be my assistant. Are you interested? But that time I was already talking to other agents, and I told him, frankly, like, I don't know if I can. Like, I'm happy to be your audition writer in other projects, depending, but I don't think I can. And he was so supportive of me. He said, oh my God, please, like, if you're talking to agents, go, like, do your thing. Like, you're super talented and I want you to succeed. I will find someone else. And I think that can go in so many ways, because I've heard some of my composer friends who become an assistant for a long time and they just get comfortable there.
Right.
But like for me, like I still am a huge supporter of Zach's work and other composers' work, and I still can help whenever I can. But I wanted to grab on to that opportunity to be my own artist as well. So yeah.
Isn't it funny that you one good thing starts to happen, and then exactly at the same time the next thing comes up, and you have to decide. It's basically it feels like a game show, this or this, right?
And to be honest, it was quite daunting, because he did say, I had to choose between, this is a very secure job that I know I will have secure pay.
Yes.
This one is like, I'm not sure. But I was also thinking, like, I really want to do this, and I work super hard, and I know I can make it work. So I think it was just one of those trusts that no matter what happens, I would be able to make it work, that I just decided to take that leap. And there are definitely ups and downs for sure. As any composer out there, there will be times where like, oh no, when's my next project kind of thing. But I think I've just learned to embrace this uncertainty. I think it's just part of being a freelancer, that there's going to be ups and downs, and it's a roller coaster.
Yeah, I mean, but in the end, when you decide to do it on your own terms, there's a bigger opportunity for you to also then, you received so much mentorship and help and just goodwill from people. I mean, you're smart, you're talented.
No, but I also owe it to so many people, for sure. Like I never.
I like that. I mean, we have to go out there and build our own thing so we can do the same thing for others. I think that's why it's so important that to take this leap might seem daunting, as you said, but in the end, you've proven times and times over that you can do it. It's just like it feels like the security net is gone.
And also, yes, you're so right that all these goodwill that I received from others, whether it's Zach or the Skydance people, or like all the faith that they had in me, or the support that they had in me, that it does inspire me. First of all, to become if I can help others, I would love to do that as well. Like, it inspires me to also want to be. I mean, whenever I can, I'm also still up and coming, but whenever I can, to help mentor other up and coming composers, or give invites. But also inspires me to be a better person. Like, it's like living in that abundance mindset instead of scarcity. Like, Zach could very well be like, no, like, I want you to stay my assistant forever. But he had trust that in his own ability that there's enough work out there for everybody. And there's no need to have this, competitions or whatever. Like, it makes me happier to work in this industry, living in that mindset of being, everyone celebrating one another's talents. And as everyone else comes up, there will be more and more opportunities for other people. That's
right. I mean, TV and media in general is did explode in the last 5 years. So there's so much music needed. If it's production music or libraries only, or like films and series and
advertising, video games, everything. Yeah, everything.
It gets more and more and more. And I don't think, especially if you're talented and if you're willing to put in the work, then there is always a place for you in this industry. So that's absolutely true. And also what I think, the abundance mindset that you have and that you learned probably through the up and coming years in Hollywood, or maybe you had it already in you. I don't know. Maybe I think we all have it basically in us. We just have to find it and let it out there.
Oh, I love that. That's so true. I do believe it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think when you have that also makes people want to work with you more than people that try to take everything for themselves and don't want to be want to give away stuff, or want to give Saki gave you away basically to your own career. And I think that is that's what's needed, I think, to succeed in general in probably in any industry, but especially in the entertainment.
Yeah, I think so, because it's such a collaborative job. Like even though now, yes, I'm on my own, but I still need help. I still need to hire additional writers. I still need to hire assistants, or I need to work with musicians. And there's tons of questions that I still have figuring out this industry. And what I've come to realize is there are so many composers out here that are just so willing to help. And they're all kind of they've been there working as an assistant, as an intern. They know what it takes to be at this position now. And I'm grateful that there are so many wonderful composers like Zach out there who's just so willing to be there and to be a resource and be of support.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned something that you still need help. And I want to ask you, it's a lot of business experts, or experts in general, talk about 80-20. So that we have that there's 20% that gets you to 80% of the results. And I want to ask you, you have to have things that you delegate. And what is there something that you know that you're absolutely not good at?
You mean in general, what I need help with in general?
Yeah, I would say in general, whatever comes to mind. Yeah.
Well, actually, right now, I just had a show that just came out. It's called Glamorous. It's a show about a gender nonconforming queer who starts working at a makeup company, and the premise of the show calls from a very poppy contemporary score. And I certainly I come from an orchestral background, so that's something that I'm really comfortable with. So I definitely, at the start of the show, I definitely needed help to talk with other composers. Hey, what are some samples that you like, and what is something that I should look into? Because I was very comfortable with my traditional orchestra samples and score, and that's my way of scoring. Is there anything that you recommend? And a lot of my composer friends pointed me to here are some plugins that you can use, some output plugins, or you can look at Splice for just as a sample, or you can do this or that, and get the synth, check out Serum, whatever. It's just that's where I needed to do my research and reach out to, I know, friends who are very good at that. And I also brought on an additional writer, Dan Light, who I love dearly and super talented, and he also helped me out a lot. And I think if it wasn't for this project, it wouldn't have helped me get out of my comfort zone and try something completely new and make it something my own. I still used traditional orchestra instrumentation in the score, but now it's like, okay, how can I use plugins or interesting, sound manipulative things to like change it up? Like instead of just a harp, maybe I can add some, some delay or whatever thing on it to make it sound a little bit different. And all of those things was just through collaboration, through like asking for help and through, hey, can you show me some stuff? Like what are some recommendations in that way?
I mean, I'm glad you said this because in my beginning years, I was always afraid to ask for help because I thought when I did this, that meant that I'm no longer a good fit for the project, right? So I love that you just ask your friends and composers that you know for that style. I mean, you learned this throughout the years that probably this mindset that you help other people so you get the help back. That's basically what I'm saying. So
also,
that's awesome.
Yeah, the thing with I did, there. Of course, I'm not like always confident. There's always there were definitely moments where I'm like, "Am I right for the project?" Like you said, I definitely had that moment. But it's like, I was talking to so many people, and they're like, "You got hired." Like I sent my reel and 100% my music, so it's like if they hired you based on that, they see something in you, and trust that you can figure this out in your own terms, like make it your own. And it is my first TV project, and again. It's all I owe so much to our creators, like the Jordan Nardino, Cameron Tarlow, for again taking a chance on me because I had no prior personal TV credits, but they trusted I could do it, and it inspires me to give it my all.
That's awesome. Yeah, that leads me to my next question. So, what's the process for you if you're deciding for a project, if it's worth your time and energy and resources? What's your thinking and process behind that?
I'm really drawn to stories that tugs on people's heartstrings and that has heart and has human quality to it because I love human connection. It's my biggest inspiration of why I want to be in this industry. So whenever a story speaks to me in the terms of like they have like exciting story plots, exciting characters or dynamic characters or voices, it really excites me. And I like to I like to read the script. I also, if they have a cut already, I would also watch it. And I love the first initial meet and greet with our filmmakers as well. That's also very exciting to me.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But yeah, I guess my core inspiration to anything is just human connection. It can stem from any types of stories, whether it's a romantic comedy or is a thriller or drama or action adventure. Like there's always heart, and those stories inspire me.
Awesome. So this is basically if this is a checkpoint on your list, if it has a human connection in the story somehow, that's a project for me.
Yeah, I think so. Awesome. It's and also just great collaborators. I really think everyone has a unique story to tell, and I just love working with people. I think that's also, I love writing music, but also I love working with people and I love talking to people like what we're doing now. Like I really love getting to know someone, and it enriches my life, not just as a composer, but just as a human in general. Like it makes me happy. Maybe I'm an extrovert. I'm not sure, but yeah.
I mean, this is, for me, I mean, I would consider myself not an extrovert, but still, when you have the right person to talk to or the right group,
then you become an extrovert.
I become it. So also with my kids, I'm an extrovert for sure. I do jokes with them all the time, but I'm not doing this with anyone. Like this is depends so much on the situation. So I think it's a label that changes over the situation we're in. So
for sure. It's the authentic connection when it doesn't need to be forced and it just happens. Like actually, I'm glad you brought up this point. In general, I feel like all the collaborators that I work with also just happen, or like once I have a meeting, you can tell usually like am I right for this project or not based on that initial connection. And it's something that can't be forced really. It's just naturally happen. Oh, we feel comfortable with each other.
Yes.
And then I feel like usually like, actually, no, all of my projects that I've worked on have that. Like, I end up becoming friends with the collaborators that I have. Just so happens organically. There are meetings where it doesn't happen this way, but that's the beauty of human interactions, right? Like, not all, will be meant for you, but you will find things that are meant for you, or people that are meant for you.
Yeah. And I think, it's very important. I think if the chemistry in the team, and I mean, the producer and the director you work with, or the showrunners, if this is right, it makes it so much easier, I think, to work. And if you have that director, I remember one project we had it was just an advertisement, and I had to do 47 revisions or something.
Oh my God, 47! I don't think I've done that much.
Right. And at one point you're like, oh my God, how can maybe you want to just choose another composer maybe for that. I don't know.
What happened in the end? Did it work out?
They took it. Yeah, it worked out.
Oh, amazing.
Sure,
yeah. So that's the thing. But advertisement's hard. You have to nail it right away. So
yeah.
It was long advertisement or short?
It was I think it was quite long. It was like a
minute or two?
Story-driven
thing,
and it was, how long was it? 6 minutes or so?
Oh wow!
So almost like a short film, right?
Oh my goodness!
But commercially.
47 revisions. Props to you for preserving.
And I did one run, right? 6 minutes. I did it in one go, and then this 10 minutes has to be this, and this 5 minutes, 5 seconds this, and was a nightmare.
Everything. Yes. Oh goodness! Well, props to you for preserving through that. I mean, how long did it take?
We only had 3 days, so there was not much.
47 revisions in 3 days.
Yeah, so there was no. I mean, it was 72 hours straight, basically.
Wow! Oh my goodness!
But I was young back then, so I could do it. These days, I don't know. 72 hours is long. Yeah. But so I mean, he was always understanding, the director, but. And the production company was on my side. And they said, we don't know. We can't do anything. I don't know. So it was comforting to know that I'm not crazy. But
yeah. I mean, that happens sometimes. There's always that one scene where everyone has a problem with. It's so weird. I feel like every project, there's always this one moment that no matter how, there's just a problem with that scene.
Exactly, They don't know.
And those moments, there are definitely that, in Glamorous, there are definitely a few scenes that there was problematic, but then you really lean heavily on your team. Like I leaned heavily on my music editor, and he just helped me, present some ideas and what if you try this? What if you tried that? So, I love my music editor, Francisco. So he's great.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think this is something that when we are starting out as composers in general, or working as artists, I think to have someone in your field and in your corner that knows what it is about, and knows not when to sugarcoat and when to not sugarcoat the stuff that you're doing, like being honest and authentic with you. This is such an important part of being successful, I think, in this business.
Yeah, so important. That's the thing. Like, we're here to serve a story. There's no, at the end, like, what I want to make it work is to serve the story. So if something's just not working out, I'm really willing to just, let's just see how we can problem solve it and make it work. Because in the end, it's not about the ego, because you're there to help other people.
Right. So. Exactly. So I think a lot of people have a strange view on entertainment, Hollywood, and what do you think are some of the biggest misconceptions as a film composer, for film composers or the entertainment industry in general, that you learned were not true?
In what way? Like, just in general?
So, I mean, you talked a lot about how friendly it all is, and some people think, it's a lot of elbows, maybe here and there. And what do you think what do you think are the biggest misconceptions? I mean, you came to Berkeley not knowing how it is in Hollywood, and maybe some things were actually, you changed your mind about some things, maybe not. Yeah.
One thing I think, sorry, my camera does this sometimes where it blurs.
No, that's fine.
something that I learned is if something's not working for you, or if a team that you're working for is not working for you, it's okay, because then you can find another team that works. And like for me, it's like I'm really grateful that I found Zach in the end, because then working with him, like, oh, we're clicking, like our personalities click, the way of working click. It's a very positive work environment. So I think a misconception is if your first experience or your first few, if it's not a very positive one, a lot of people will give up. But I think this industry is so big and there's so many different personalities, and that's also part of our job, to navigate different personalities.
Yes.
But if one of them is not working for you, I feel like there's hope in finding something that's right. Whether it's, working with assisting composers or working on your own projects with filmmakers, like don't let one bad experience kind of take away from your entire faith, I guess, in this industry. Because yes, all the things that you described about, like a lot of the elbows and like, some egos, or there are definitely some dark side of the industry, but I tend to, when I notice that, I tend to just move away and just find my own circle. And I'm really grateful that I did, but there are definitely tough times, especially in the first year. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is with news in general, you normally don't only hear the bad news. Like you hear these horror stories. I heard one personally, that a person who worked with a big name composer and the team, and it was just so freaking competitive.
Yeah.
And then he said a new person came into the team, and he never had contact really with the main composer, with the head of production, basically, but only with like people like 3 layers down. And then all of a sudden he worked his like ass off. And then all of a sudden they just ghosted him, and he never heard anything back again. So we're like, wow. So this is kind of really weird. But I like your positivity, and I think this is something really important. I think you have to choose your own path, and I don't think you have to let yourself be abused by other people's egos.
No.
You find people that are actually nice and that actually love to work with other people and love to lift everyone else up. And that's really encouraging, I think, for a lot of listeners here.
I definitely firmly believe in that. Like there's even though there's bad experiences, but that's not the entire industry. And I feel that a lot of people can get trapped in that, like, oh, is this how everybody works? It's really not. Like, especially with the up and coming composers, because I feel like everyone has been through, not everyone, but there's a lot of bad experiences that I had when you're an assistant or intern. And hopefully this generation's composer are inspired to not treat people who work for you like that, because we've all been through that. And I certainly know a lot of composers whom I really admire at the moment. They treat their team well, and they give fair compensation, cue sheet if they've written anything. That's an important thing too. I firmly believe in that too.
That's really, really cool. So what would be one thing that you would tell your younger self, or like someone who wants to break into the industry? Like, what would the steps be, or what would be the mindset be? What do you think is necessary to get where you are now? Like on the brink of on being famous.
Oh no. Be passionate, because I think what got me through all those tough times, some bad experiences, is the passion and curiosity and the hope to not give up based on one bad experience. Like if you love storytelling, you love working with people, you love music, you just want to be part of this whole filmmaking process, you will find ways that it will work, whether it's being an assistant or orchestrator or a music editor or composer yourself, or working in ads or video games or films. Like there's so many, it's such a broad industry that you just keep going. Like I think that would be the main thing. It's like, don't give up and just keep going. Like you will find your place. And I really do believe everyone has a place not just in music, but in general, like our humans ourselves,
Right.
like, or we have a place in this world.
Yes.
And I really think that that's, sorry to get preachy, but like that's really
I totally agree. We are all uniquely made for something that we have to do
yeah,
here, right? So
yeah,
that's just it. That's just it, and that this also kills the whole competition argument.
yeah. Like
I think there is something for everyone. That's for
yeah, and
sure.
if something doesn't work, that's okay. Like you
Yeah.
will find the next one. There's so many. Everyone has their own paths, and the first few years will be tough. There's no doubt about it, but it does get better. Like that's what I tell everybody that I meet that are like up and coming, because I'm really willing to like talk to anybody who just fresh out of graduation, because I know so many people have helped me. I want to help others as well, and that's what I always say. Like it does get better. Don't give up. It does
That's
get better.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really very generous of you. I mean, some people will probably reach out, and this I want to like, are these soundtracks available somewhere to listen to, like for Glamorous and for Blush?
Blush, we're still in the works of figuring that out. But for Glamorous, there will be a soundtrack release sometime in July. I don't know if I can announce this, but it's by Lakeshore, so I'm really, 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 really
Nice.
stoked,
Yes.
like insanely stoked. But I don't know when that's coming out. Sometime in July. But if anyone wants to reach me, like it's my website is just my name, and so is my social media. So
Right.
that's where they can find my music.
I will definitely put this in the description so they can reach out to you. But because I think it's insanely valuable to have someone that is in front of you,
Yeah.
talk with you, and just like address some of your fears that you might have, and some of your like restrictions that you feel that you have. And so this is really generous. Thank you so much, Joya. I think
No, of course. And
listeners and viewers would
thank you
appreciate
for
it.
having me. And like I'm also, a lot of people have helped me, and I'm grateful for them as well. So
yes,
awesome. It does make it a better industry to work in if everyone has this mindset.
100%. That's awesome. Cool. Thank you so much for coming on, Joy.
Thank you for having me.